I will be happy to now shift the perspective from here to another really deep conversation that is presented by our next presenters, by Ms. Anna Ilieva-Georgieva and Ms. Baglana Yendybayeva. So today's next presentation explores how shifting perception can transform challenges into opportunities for growth. Ms. Georgieva joins us from Bulgaria. She is an engineer and economist with a multidisciplinary background in telecommunications, education, and finance. She holds 2 master's degrees, one in communication equipment and technologies from the Technical University of Sofia, and another in accounting and control from Veliko Tarnovo University. Her professional path spans teaching, financial management, and leadership roles in international accounting and green energy sectors. Today, she is the owner and managing director of companies specializing in electronics, software production, and accounting services, bringing together technical expertise and strategic vision. Welcome to our conversation here. And she is joined by Ms. Baglana Yendybayeva, an accountant based in Kazakhstan, whose work reflects a strong analytical approach combined with a growing interest in personal development and communication processes. Together, they bring a unique combination of structured thinking and human-centered insight. Their joint perspective offers a practical and accessible approach to understanding how we interpret reality and how changing that perspective can open new possibilities for growth, resilience, and connections. So please, we have the next presentation called Reframing as a Skill for Broadening Perception of the World. Please, the floor is yours.
We are glad to see you and saying gratitude and greetings to our attendees. And we have the presentation with the name of the Reframing as a Skill of Broadening Perception in the World to the Positive Way. Reframing is a skill for broadening perception of the world, change the point of view from one to another to the positive way, and change the frames. Reframing is necessary to change the emotional, reduce stress and emotional resistance, see hidden opportunities, make the decision more consciously, develop emotional and cognitive flexibility, integrate personal experience into the holistic version of the world. It is important to see what helps us reframing to expand our perception, reduce emotional tension, and find a new way of interacting with the situation. But in order to understand why isn't it possible, it is important to see what exactly are changing in the process of reframing. What are the frames? Frames are nothing other than stereotypes that is a stable altitude towards a given phenomenon formed under the influence of historical, social opinion, and prior experience. There are hundreds and even thousands of such stereotypes, positively and negatively affecting. The first, most clear and definitive use of the word stereotype is a scientific term associated with the name of American sociologist, political scientist, and journalist Walter Lippmann, who introduced the concept of the stereotype into the sphere of the social political discourse by presenting his theory of public opinion in 1922. Stereotypes and the space of reframing. The author of the concept calls stereotypes the ordered, schematic, culturally determined by picture of the world in a person's mind, images of consciousness, which save efforts when perceiving complex objects in the world and protect one's values, positions, and rights. There are patterns of perception filtering and interpretation on information adopted as a historical community by recognizing and understanding surrounding world. One and same experience has been definitely to change the angle of view. This is a space of framing, the art of changing meaning by changing the frame. Types of the reframing. Reframing by expanding of narrowing frames, reframing of meaning in a situation, reframing of context in a situation, single word reframing, reframing of speech strategies, reframing of outcome, and reframing of all the results. One of the same event can always be viewed from the different perspective. In our lives, it's a rule where exist two basic frames, the problem frame and outcome frame. This means that any event can be viewed either on obstacle creating a problem or as an opportunity and solution leading to the result. For example, the work of American cartoonist William Ellie Hill, My Wife and Mother-in-Law. In your focus, on the right side of the picture, you see an old woman with a facial feature. However, if you look at her from the distance, you can see instead of old woman, a young, elegant girl. The picture itself does not change, only our focus of attention changes. The reframing of meaning is changing to the perception of situation from negative to positive. In reality, this is transition to a deeper level of understanding. Everything is not as it seems at a first glance. When you change in the frame of perception, you stop reacting automatically. You begin to see causes and effects. Look deeper than appear on the surface. Reframing in context of the simplest type. You can see there is a bad, not good, and you can see the problem to both fish. So you can see the cause and the result of the situation. You may see the whole reality and the thinking, what's going on. The reframing of the context. The reframing of context in the simple type, you take an object of reality or an event that the habituality, perspective, and negative context. For the boy can protect the sister. This may not be to decrease the negative reaction or to find more positive way of solution. The reframing is not only for positive view, interpretation of the situation, of more changing of the surface or first glance interpretation to the proper condition. What is behind our frames? You may lose the automatical reaction. You may see the cause and the result. You may see the logic of the thinking. You may see the more deep meaning of the situation. The fact is the same. The meaning is different because it meaning not as meaningful as before. Something could be at that stage of our development. The reframing is not illusion, but it is more deep understanding of the reality. Reframing of the context is the simple type. You take an object or reality or an event as a habitual perspective only into the negative context. You can use but on another hand, which is Russian sounds zato. For example, rain itself is neither bad or not good. It plays experience through rain bring joy. However, a wedding feast outdoor the rain may cause unpleasant feeling. But on another hand, such a wedding will be remembered by anyone for a long time. So it might be romantic and positive way. We can find another samples of the reframing, but on another hand, as I said regarding wedding, all the guests had been said, but reframing of the inside. But on another hand, now you are clean in front of each other, and this is the gift from the sky. Dear guests, you are wet, but on another hand, you turn to be the people who attended the wedding, which is in a new way, and you'll never forget about it, and you will be popular. But on another hand, you had a new experience of the organization of the ceremony. One single word reframing of meaning. For this, we take a word expressing a certain idea or concept and find a synonym for it that gives a positive or negative shade to the original term. Money could be like a well-being, success, means, responsibility, corruption, and etc. All these words or phrases create different frames to the concept of money, thereby outlining various potential points of view. Playing with the frames. We can play with this frame patterns, replacing a negative statement with a positive one. How can we change the perception? In particular, stupid can be naive, innocent, absent-minded, economical in thought. Irresponsible can become free-thinking, flexible, or uninformed. It could be sourceful. The samples of single-word context framing of personal traits. Somebody played a role, not really successful. He's acting in a theater, but now, on another hand, I can become more skillful in speeches and action. So, in another hand, is a key for changing of the perception of the reality.
Рефрейминг речевых стратегий – это способ говорить так, чтобы не давить, а расширить мышление человека и его выбор.
The framing of the strategy, instead of direct meaning, you would use the word how, reframing of the speech strategy, and encouragement to look into interesting for future, shifting attention away from the problem. For example, you could say to a colleague, in a case of a mistake directly impacting the ego, next time you need to do this way and that way. Or you could say, what do you think would happen if you did it this way? Allow yourself to try this approach next time. Reframing through choice and awareness. What do you think would happen if you try to do it this way? Allow yourself to test this approach next time. Reframing of outcome. Reframing of outcome, shifting focus from the failure to value, experience, or progress. This is when you consciously change the way you interpret that happens in order to see in a more useful, constructive meaning. The essence of this speech strategy lies on shifting the center of attention and consequently the perception of the situation from one object to another, from one set of experience or goal to another, while the content of the verbal frame remains unchanged. On speech strategies of slate of month. At the level of syntax, in the speech strategies, the rule of preferring linked transition between sentences, and if, because, and yet, and even if, etc. Seen a smooth transition from one sentence to another, produce a smooth shift to a new paradigm. The use of these conjunctions allow the brain to maintain an economical energy mode and easily transition from one perception to a new one. Why do conjunction works this way, for example? The cause of negative thinking is stereotype of semantic load that are transmitted from generation to generation and archived in memory. The outcome does not determine value. Its interpretation determines growth. Patterns and sleight of mouth. The structure of phrases that appears in a person's speech, regardless of context, in the form of a template is called a pattern. The term sleight of mouth reflects the similarity of these patterns with card tricks. Sleight of mouth helps us become aware of the filter and maps of the pattern that blocks the distort perception in the world and potential possibilities, and this also changes habitual frames. In general terms, pattern can be characterized as a change of the linguistic frame. The meaning or essence of a word or sentence change, which correspondingly affects beliefs. As a rule, the change of the frame is carried out either with a new context using the word but on another hand, or with a new meaning using in reality this is. Types of reframing summary. Reframing by expanding of narrowing frames of time, situation.
Переосмысление эмоций. Джеймса Гросса, который разработал основы
among the most well-known and frequently cited authors who have studied remaining reframing and emotional regulation along with the key scientific words. Kevin author James Gross. Neuroscience of reframing. Reframing activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the activity of amygdala, which means the prefrontal cortex takes over the management of the emotional reaction, calming the amygdala, which is responsible for the fear, anxiety, and instantaneous automatic reaction. Reframing, engaging thinking, and reducing the automatic anxiety response. Work, emotional regulation, conceptual foundation, cognitive restructuring, calm down, describe the situation, analyze your mood, identify your automatic thoughts, find objective evidence, find contradicting evidence. Cognitive restructuring, determine fair thoughts, monitor your current mood. When the interpretation changes, the flow of an anxious signal decreases the need for the reduce of fear, decrease of impulsive reactions, calmer reception of the situation. When we use reframing, it's strengthening connection between brain areas responsible for the meaning. It reduces the activity of fear system. It improves emotional resilience and changes the internal background of interpretation. Creation of the new connection. When the rephrase a situation, applying reframing will activate the neutral path bypass route. We change old ones to automatic, reactive being to be supplemented by the conscious one.
Так как активирует новые нейронные пути. Окружение создает безопасное пространство для экспериментов с новыми
Reframing sometimes requires acknowledging that your previous point of view was limited. The group environment creates the safe space of the experimenting the new frames. Neurobiology says that the activity of the amygdala, which is responsible for the fear and stress decrease, allowing the new interpretation to be perceived more easily. In the group environment, you can immediately test where the new frame works in the practice, how behavior was changed, how the other react, how communication changes. Previously, we discussed how reframing helps change one's own perception and reduce stress. Now, let us see how these changes work not only individually, but also in the group environment. So, we usually see the world through our own habitual frames, filters developed over the years. When we are in a group, new points of view appears. The perspective of others help us see what was previously invisible. Each new perspective triggers internal changes. The brain searches for alternative interpretation faster. A change in one participant gradually changes the entire group. This is how a domino effect arises in perception, behavior, and communication. The group creates new realities of perception. One person sees a limited way. A group creates a new realities of perception. We have already examined why the group environment is important and how new point of view trigger the domino effect. Let us now see how this works in practice when each participant actively uses their new frames and shares them with the groups. Practical cycle of the roundtable work. Each person chooses a situation or habitual belief of reappraisal. Each participant formulates their new perspective or new meaning of the event. We share new interpretation, listening to others without judgment. We combine the best ideas into collective frame that strengthen understanding and emotional silence. What changes in perception? How did the emotion and behavior change? Which is the new frames can apply going forward. After new frames are formed and consolidated, it's important to see that what effect this has on the entire group, how the changes of the one participant spread throughout the system. Working in reframing in the group environment accelerate the process of reappraisal, make interpretation deeper, reduce stress and fear, amplifies the integral effect the change of the one person influence to the entire system. A new frame of thinking becomes real only when it has been tested in a contact with the others. It should be noted that every language has its own verbal frames with different semantic loads, and what can be used in one language may be ineffective or counterproductive in another. Reframes are needed in order to stop getting stuck on negative interpretation and begin to see real benefit in a situation. They help shift the focus from problem to opportunity, reduce the internal tension, and restore the ability to act. Game reframing in a group. How to use the power of the group environment for expanding of thinking. Required 3 to 10 participants and facilitator, a circle or a one-line chat. Online chat. The facilitator gives a neutral or problematic situation. For example, I made a mistake on my exam. I was not supported by my team. I failed by my presentation. Each person bravely says how they see the situation in a usual way without reframing, but each participant must reformulate the situation through but on another hand, зато, or through how, or through if. Game example. I failed the exam, and then I failed the exam, but now I understand how to prepare better. I failed the exam, but on another hand, I gained an experience. How can I use the experience in going forward? Each participant improves the previous reframe, adds new meaning, expands the interpretation. Final reflection. The group answers. What new frame emerged as a result? How did the perception of the situation change? One situation equal to many meanings. The group environment means an accelerator of new interpretation. We do not change events. We create a new way of seeing them together. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for this insightful presentation about how to reframe, how to see the reality in a new way, in a different way, and how to work together in this. Thank you so much. So please, who has a question in regards to this presentation? We are happy to hear that. And the first is Ernest. I think we have more. Mariam also wanted to ask. So we start with Ernest and then we keep going. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Superior presentation. I will be very short. I will touch only one point. You mentioned that one of the points is actually to conversion from a problem to an opportunity. It was one of the slides there. And that is exactly pretty much my expertise, my field of quality control. Okay, when typically like a company gets a customer complaint, okay, if you are a well-organized organization, you are work on unity and connection. So the meaning you are taking it, you are learning it, you study it, you respond to it in a professional manner, and you actually turn all this customer complaint into an opportunity, not only into a thank you letter, but moreover, you are retaining your customer, you are getting your money, and you are getting a referral for your excellent service. For the other hand, okay, if you are going into panic, and only from the world customer complaint, you already panicking, and they start to yell all over the whole world, okay, and destroy all the connection in the internal framework of communication, you create a problem. So my question will be, to bottom line, okay, can reframing be defined as a sort of connection to the top level, the right person making the right decision? That would be my question. I hope that I explained myself approximately. Thank you so much.
Firstly, reframing is very helpful to see the general point of view. This is the point of connection of interest of one and another person, let's say in a business, when there are two countries have a negotiation, so that the goal is for the win-win situation, and reframing is very helpful for that. So each person, each country's side would get the valuable end result, success and satisfaction. I would add that our emotions depends not on the situation, that depends on our interpretation, our perception, which means the reframing change the perception and change the reaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And there's another question from Rebecca. Please, Rebecca, go ahead.
How you change reframing for not deviating of the reality, but to accepting the reality in proper way. You can do it with your surrounding, with your society. Something that you use the games in your surrounding, your group, using tests which would help you to understand your own feelings and turn the human being to accept the proper new reality. The meaning is not positive just for being positive. This is what we learn, how to accept the proper reality, how to understand different way and had a proper reaction to the reality and perception in a proper meaning.
Thank you. Thank you for this insightful answer. And yes, please, Grigori, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much. Very important, the presentation, very informative. The question is, currently, when we have wars, conflicts, viruses, epidemics. There is a danger of absolutely losing work because of the robotics. How we can use reframing to feel ourselves more stable, to be both feet on the earth in our new reality. How we can use this methodology of reframing to make it more positive way of thinking, to be more optimistic, to look to the future. It takes time to learn how to use skills of reframing, the basic skills, quite quick, but automatically this skill, this option will turn to be like a breathing when you use it permanently at your practice. You have to use the group, you have to have a games and interaction using reframing. As I understood the question was how to improve the condition of this our world. The condition of our world through the reframing. We can do it when we demonstrate by our sample how we do accepting the situation. You share the way of your point of view with other people. With this exactly situation, you may find another solution of exception and perception. You not change the reality. You demonstrate that there are few options of the exception and perception of the reality. The way of your view, the way of your point of view, the thoughts will change the reality for yourself and surrounding.
Thank you. So we have one more minute, and maybe this is enough time for another question here that I'm having is, I wonder about what are the underlying principles, but here I see that there's a participant wanting to ask. I think we want to give the participant the chance. So please go ahead. You just raise your hand. Go ahead.
Perfect. Very amazing, impressive presentation. I would like to ask you, when we start to learn how to use these skills, do you have currently courses running, ongoing, or in perspective, so we can use it in our family, near, surrounding, society, work? We do have courses. I believe we may have the invitation link. There is a group of people who is using this in practice. So to use this knowledge to improve the skills, experience, and make it in advance so we can apply these methods of reframing in our simple life, material life, and surrounding with the nearest surrounding and job, family, neighbors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So now